Now, as you all know, one of the big plans by Disney CEO Bob Iger is to focus on Star Wars movies again, instead of just strictly focusing on Star Wars TV shows on Disney Plus or on a streaming platform at that. For the main reason being this is that the movies actually gain more revenue because then you're relying on repeat ticket sales, and you're also relying on the price of a single ticket multiplied by many instead of just a subscription service, which, by the way, goes by either households or a singular person. And this is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the kind and great support. And that brings us to Bob Iger. Now, still to this day, I have a lot of criticism about Bob Iger because of what he did and allowed to do with the sequel trilogy films and what he allowed Kathleen Kennedy to do with the characters of Luke and stuff like that. But I gotta give him at least a little bit of credit, just a little bit, for keeping Bob Chapek's plan of allowing John and Dave to do whatever in the world that they want to do with Star Wars. So I gotta at least respect that, because if it weren't for that, things would really be going downhill without a doubt. Now, given that Bob Iger has been a lot more direct about his ambitions, a lot more direct about his overall goals when it comes to Star Wars, and his attempt to really mend things together, we also have Bob Iger talking about the movies again. Alright, so this is all about prepping things for the fans to go back into the theaters and to bring them back into the cinemas, and everything relies on the Skywalker saga, essentially, right? That's where the backbone of the franchise really is, and where Star Wars started from, so let's not forget about that. However, with Disney and Lucasfilm actively working on multiple Star Wars projects for the fans through Favreau and Filoni, Disney CEO Bob Iger has been teasing many things for the future of Star Wars, both for the shows and even films in the roadmap. Recently, Bob Iger went on to tease the continuation of the Skywalker saga through episodic films by stating the following to the fans. In the beginning, when we were first starting to work on Episode 7, we were sure that we wanted to end things at Episode 9 for sure. Once we wrapped and released Episode 9, we began talking about how we could continue the Skywalker saga, even after I sit here after Chapek was forming this brand for a couple of years. We realized that the Skywalkers belong in the theaters, and we are having conversations and planning stages every day of how we can reinstate episodic films again when it comes to this amazing saga for the franchise. So let me just stop right here for a second. Now, we already discussed of how episodes 10 through 12 are in the very early stages. We already talked about this many times. And basically there's only like loose ideas and a couple of notes here and there based on the direction that they want to go in. They want to focus on the concept of Skywalker cousins, and they want to focus on the character of Cade Skywalker. So basically what John and Dave are going to do in the Mandoverse is they're about to canonize Luke Skywalker's son. And the plan by Disney in the distant future is they want to actually have a story about Cade Skywalker, a descendant of both Ben and Rey, and then having, of course, another Skywalker on the other side of the family, a descendant of Luke, and basically the actual son of Luke's son, the grandson, so to speak, of Luke, and how that's going to basically be the cousins of the Skywalker story, and how that really is going to play a large role in new foes coming into play, stuff like that. It's basically going to be based on the Star Wars Legacy comics mixed within some new stuff. They only have a handful of notes right now, and they're working hand in hand with Favreau, Filoni, and other unknown creators joining in to really create a ton of notes for episodes 10 through 12 to later be used on the scripts, which, by the way, they want to begin that by 2026. So that brings us to the next thing that Bob Iger had to talk about, alright? So Bob Iger went on to actually really elaborate things further, because we all know that fans definitely do want to see movies again. Now, some fans out there may not want to, and that's fine. Listen, I know tickets are not cost effective these days. I understand that. Especially if you have a family, forget about it. If you have a family and you're getting tons of tickets and food, I mean, the prices are just insane. But anyways, moving on to the next thing. Alright, so he goes on to state, we have a distant goal in mind, and though we can't go into every detail, we are pretty ambitious about what we are planning to continue the saga once again for the community. We wanted to actually look past only putting out single one-off movies, and want to aim for big budget titled Star Wars films that will attract the biggest portion of the fan base. Now, separate from what Iger stated here, this all alludes to how 10 through 12 is indeed in the early stages that are being worked on as we speak, where Favreau and Filoni as well as others will be involved, and that they want to begin production by 2026 to get the first film out by, of course, the end of the decade. Now, granted, we're still a far ways off from even seeing this trilogy, and I think that at the end of the day, the fact that they want to give it one final shot, one last shot with the Skywalker saga, and ending everything at episode 12, bringing things full circle like a clock, right? Every hour, 1 through 12. Just ending things there and calling it a day. I kind of like that they're embracing this, I'll be honest. Do I have a lot of faith in Disney that they could do this correctly this time, thoroughly? Yes, if they have Favreau and Filoni involved, in which they do, but with other creators that are also very well experienced, that respect the brand. That's all it really takes. And as long as they can keep that and play their cards right, I think that they have a story. And that's why they're focusing on this for a very long time. That's why they're not rushing and spitting out 10 through 12 immediately. That's why they're taking a couple of years to even begin the script and begin production on this. Right now, they're just in the notes stage and the brainstorming stage, stuff like that. What's going to be finalized, what's not going to be finalized, that whole deal. At least that's exciting, but everything related to Bob Iger, teasing the new episodic films. We also have a Mandalorian trilogy on the horizon, as well as the Old Republic trilogy to look forward to, which are already in development. Alright, so those are more in the near future to be released. And that's another thing to look forward to, because the Mando trilogy is technically considered to be new sequel trilogy movies that'll also extend the Skywalker saga in between the current sequels and the original trilogy. Alright? So overall, I think that given that George is also going to be involved and advising a lot about that, and how they are going to be picking up yet a new Skywalker, actually a couple new Skywalkers, 2 of them to be exact, is also very refreshing. The fact that they want to focus on this bloodline strictly now, instead of just diverting from that bloodline, is at least a one-up. That's a plus. So, it really kind of makes you wake up and say to yourself, right? Maybe and just maybe, they can do it right this time. Anyways, with that being all done and said, I would like to hear what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.